Council meeting, Thursday, June 4th, 2020, on video conference. So we'll do the roll call and see who's here. Deputy Warden Poirier.
Here.
Councillor Cranton.
We're here.
Councillor Mustard.
Present.
Councillor McLennan.
Here.
Betty Ann McClory, here. Councillor Dowling.
Here.
Okay, so who is here from staff? Would you, let me see now. Okay, of course, Keith McDonald, CAO. Are you present?
Yes, I'm here. Melanie Peaton is here, Special Projects. Donna McDonald with Tourism and Culture. Tanya Toubeau, Director of Finance. Carolyn McQueen, who's our communications lead. Roy from the Department of Finance is also joined, along with Charlotte from Recreation. And we have some guests that are going to come on board in a little bit to talk about the elections, next steps.
Okay, thank you. I just want to take a moment before we deal with the agenda and its approval, to recognize for a moment the terrible turmoil in the United States and all over the world regarding the virus, but also over the world reignited by police action in the death of an African American. So Black matter, lives matter. Just wanted to reflect on that for a minute, but you know, just to start and think of what they are going through on top of the virus as well. So it's a cruel world, and it's not a fair world to a lot of people. So we'll also have a look at the agenda, and we just had a public hearing, which more or less kind of goes down in history as well. Public hearing on a virtual platform. We got along great. So, and I think everybody was happy with it. So as a result of that, we probably should add to the agenda the rezoning application for it to go to second reading. So if somebody would like to make a motion to add that to the agenda first of all, or
Warden Deputy Warden here. I would like to add to agenda, and it's not a big motion, or it's just that to accept the member from the Cape Breton Housing Corporation, you know, Claude Poirier, just to be accepted by council to be on the Housing Commission.
oh,
If I could add that to the agenda, and it would move and propose that if accepted by by council.
okay, how does council feel on adding that to the agenda? Maybe we'll deal with adding the second reading of the application for rezoning first, and then we'll vote on making another addition, which the deputy warden brought forward. So,
Warden, I would like to make a motion then that we move the agenda forward with the additions of the land. What was the first one you mentioned there? The
rezoning application.
The rezoning application, and second,
on Mine Road in Inverness.
Yes. The change or the addition requested by Deputy Warden Poirier.
Okay, we should probably do them separately.
My motion was to approve the agenda with those two items added.
Okay, does somebody want to second that motion then?
I second. Warden, Deputy Warden.
It's been moved by Councillor Cranton and seconded by Deputy Warden Poirier that the agenda be approved with amendments in the addition of the application for rezoning that we heard from several people at a public hearing, this morning, or just afternoon, and that it go to second reading. And also the introduction of Claude, what's his last name again?
Claude Poirier.
Claude Poirier, to the Housing Board. Is it the Housing Board, Deputy Warden?
Kimball Housing Board.
Cape Island Housing Board, okay. So, all in favor of that motion? All tied into the agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, so where would we like to put these two items? Claude Poirier's welcome to the Housing Commission? Where's that gonna go?
Maybe at the end, the last one, there's no particular.
Okay.
For it.
Right after correspondence then?
That'd be good.
And the motion for the application for rezoning to go to second reading, could that go right after our returning officer's presentation?
Sure.
For 6A? That'd be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we've dealt with the approval of the agenda and we're moving forward to the approval of the minutes. So first of all, we had an opportunity to read over the regular council minutes in our package of May 7th, 2020. So we'll start with entertaining a motion to approve the regular council minutes of May 7th, 2020.
I'll make that motion, Warden.
Moved by Councillor Dowling, seconded by
Second, Councillor
Councillor
Cranton.
Cranton, that we approve the regular council minutes of May 7th, 2020. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary
Okay,
minded?
Warden.
Motion carried.
Warden, can I
Then-
make a comment on that one?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Would it be
So,
business arising or?
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, just regarding the post office at Port Hastings, so I can tell everyone now that the siding is going on the building. It was actually started yesterday. So the old ugly building in the Port Hastings that's greeting all our visitors and residents every day is starting to gonna have a new look in a couple of days or a week. So that was started yesterday morning. So the old it's going to make a big change in Port Hastings.
Well, that's a step in the right direction for sure. That's
Yeah.
great.
It sure
Right.
is.
Congratulations on that one. You worked hard on that one. So the next set of minutes is Committee of the Whole minutes of May 21st. Could I entertain a motion for approval of those minutes?
I move that
Okay.
we accept the minutes as circulated of May 21st.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, I
Go ahead,
think I heard McLennan's voice there first. So
Yeah.
it's been moved by Deputy Warden Poirier and seconded by Councillor McLennan that we approve the Committee of the Whole minutes of May 21st, 2020. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. We also had a special budget meeting on May 28th. So the floor is open for a motion for approval of the special budget meeting of May 28th. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move that one.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor and seconded by
Councillor Cranton.
Councillor Cranton, that we approve the minutes of the special budget meeting of May 28th. Now we have time for some discussion on any of these minutes in business arising. So if councillors want to address anything in anything that arose as you read over your minutes to see what was discussed, and if there's anything that you want to bring forward, now's the time.
You get someone?
Okay, hearing no one, we'll go on to a presentation by Mr. Paul Poirier of Cheticamp Ground Search and Rescue. Mr. Poirier, you are here. You've
Okay,
got the,
before Warden and councillors and staff, before I move on to Mr. Poirier. And Mr. Poirier is president of the Cheticamp Search and Rescue, and he's going to give us in details, roughly, I know our time is very limited, but what they have, how they started, and zone, etc. So again, Mr. Poirier.
Lots of Poiriers.
Too many.
Go ahead, Mr. Poirier.
Yeah, 1 second, I gotta take Alfred's tea.
Oh, okay. That's a good, yeah, never thought of that.
We're both for you, but we're not related. Thank you for having me to this presentation. I've been talking with Alfred for years and years and years, and about trying to get something from the municipality. And first, there's somebody that was asking what kind of region do we cover? Well, we cover from our zone, especially, is from Margaret Harbor going all the way to the Forks, and then it cuts into the boundary line in the islands, and we do part of the islands of Cape Breton. That means, and once you're on the other side, we go all the way to Cape Smoky. So it's a good part of the region. And like everything else, every year you're trying to, you have to raise funds, because we got a big hall that we built probably 20 years ago. We got a truck, we got a 47-foot, what do you call it, our command post when we go to a search. And we got all kinds of equipment. Actually, we had a practice in the national park last year with the park. And as far as radio communication, they found out that we were the best equipped for communication, because they had people with their radios. We're rigged up with repeaters that we can go put different places, and it can come in handy. And it's up to a point that it's in every organization. It's hard to get the people involved. We go door to door, and people are ready. But this year, for one thing, we can't do our ticket drive this year. Actually, we were after the municipality. If there was any way that they could afford $10,000 a year for our basic expense, that's our basic expense we have every year. I don't know what else you'd like to know. Would you have any question on this?
Sure, I'll open the floor for questions.
Question, Captain Warden.
Okay, Councillor Cranton.
Just wondering what funds you would get from EMO or the province.
The only thing we get from the province is $3,000 a year. That's it. No, there's nothing coming from anywhere else.
So if you have a major search that could last have 5 or a week or so, they don't give you any extra for that, do they? Or
well, what they'll do, once everything is over, they'll pay our costs.
okay.
Everything is going in different direction now. If we take off for a search, taking off for a search, getting to a search, coming back from a search is covered by EMO. Once you're on a search, it's covered by the RCMP. It's quite and I don't know. Sometimes EMO's been pretty good to us. Like they're not hard to get along with, but the RCMP, we've seen searches that we waited 2 years to get paid.
Oh dear, that's not good. So Deputy Warden Poirier, do you have a comment or question off your buddy here?
Yeah. If I may, Warden and councillors, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, here you go, Albert.
Yeah. Well, the reason I think, and I was in favor of this, is maybe have a good look at the search and rescue operation in Inverness County, and even in Port Oxby with the Strait. Now, apparently, I don't know, if there is that much money coming in from different counties, go into the street. But here we have a fully qualified search and rescue with men with their proper certification, training, etc. So, and with the top of the line equipment, building, trucks, etc. So I think it would be serious on our part to have a good look at search and rescue, especially across the county and especially in my area in District 1, because they move, they protect us, they protect everybody. They go up even to English Ferry and all over, so which is part of their zone. So I think it's just a presentation to show what they're doing, the capacity that they have, and that's what I would like to have a good talk with council about it, if there's anything that can be done.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Mustard.
Looks like he stepped away there.
We'll go on to Councillor McLennan. Any thoughts?
It's a good idea, but I believe, we have one in the straight. Inverness are going to start getting one going up again, and I think Laurie Cranton has one in Margree and one in Cheticamp. That's 4. I think they all should get together and go under one umbrella. If we have nothing over like that over in District 4, and if we have to, we'll start one over there. And can this municipality afford all that? That's the way we have to look at it.
Well, it's something we have to discuss for sure. Thank you, Councillor McLennan.
Definitely.
See, one of the things is the straight, I guess, from our last zone meeting, they're getting money from all the regions they cover, which they go towards Antigonish. They get from Antigonish, they get from St. Peter's, all that way. Sydney, it was told to me at one meeting they were getting $25,000 a year from the city police. And here in Inverness County, we're left with nothing. I mean, and like I said, we got all the trainings. I got, as far as my team, I'm president, I got 4 manager, which I won't comment on the other teams because it's not my place, but Alfred can talk to you about it at a later date.
So, Mr. Poirier, did you say you covered part of Victoria County as well?
We cover, Victoria would be, where would Victoria be?
Victoria right here, and then you go right up to.
Yeah, we go all the way up to
St. Margaret.
the Smoky on the other side.
Okay. So have you considered asking Victoria County for some funding as well? Since you do service them. Do they have any services there, ground search and rescue in Victoria, I wonder?
We have some in Dingwall. We got what you call the life-saving program. Those with that are if they got Alzheimer or something.
Oh yeah.
We got people up there that are looking after that, which are a member of our club, like affiliate members, probably 4 or 5. And they look after that because there's somebody up there with the bracelet for if they got lost, you know where to go look for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a consideration. Okay,
Yeah.
Councillor Dowling, do you have any questions or comments?
No, all's good. Thanks, Warden.
Okay.
I would like to add one last comment. The money that has been provided for this search and rescue in Cheticamp, and it has been paid by the people of Cheticamp, but they have been serving all across Cameron Island, even Waikagama and all over, and we're not getting 1 penny from nobody. So that's my question. My question is, Are we going to treat everybody fairly? Or are we going to left us Cheticamp in the back with a very professional team with no money? That's my question to everybody here today. And like I said, I might agree with Councillor McLennan that it should be our look overall, but maybe it should be under a different avenue. But it is certainly a must looked at for our region, especially in Cheticamp, especially in closing in on 50 years service.
We're going to be celebrating a 50th anniversary in 2 years.
So I thank you very much.
Very well presented by both of you, for sure. Anyway, what is council's wish? To further discuss this or make a decision?
So I think we should discuss it further to see what they're going to, if Inverness are going to start a team and if Marguerite are going to start a team.
Well, they may want a presentation as well.
Oh, definitely. But then we have to also get the straight area in on it too.
You
And
won't get we're getting a team and Inverness getting a team. First of all, it's Inverness that has to show up to the plate with no disrespect. It's not happening up to date.
Okay.
Okay, so I thank you very much for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Poirier. Excellent presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm councillor till October now.
You helped me in.
Okay, we'll keep moving along on the agenda. And at this point in the agenda, we want to welcome our returning officer, Dernie Gills. I think you're here somewhere, Mr. Gills. Are you here?
Dernie was having some difficulties logging on. I'm just gonna check and see. I may have to call him in. Just one moment, okay?
Okay. Do you want us to go to the next item on the agenda?
Yes, we should.
He's coming right in right now, so.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll keep working on this and maybe council can continue with the agenda. We'll
Okay.
get it straightened out.
Thanks, Keith. So we'll move on to what we added to the agenda today as a result of having a public hearing this morning with all kinds of positivity towards the application for rezoning. So at this point, is there any further discussion on the presentation that we heard today, first of all? And if not, then a motion to send this rezoning application to second reading.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Mustard, seconded by Councillor McLennan, that the application for rezoning to change from commercial to park area in Inverness on the Mine Road, and that application go to second reading. All in favor of the motion?
I'm sorry, Warden. I'm sorry, Warden. It's been this is the second reading. So right now, council is approving the second reading. Coming out of the hearing, council recommended that it go through the second reading here currently today in this part of the agenda.
Okay. Jim, would you like to reword that motion then?
Yeah, my motion is to approve the rezoning of the land based on the public hearing. So
Okay.
whatever I need to say officially, but something around that council approved the rezoning based on the response of the public hearing in favor of the rezoning.
Okay, and Councillor McLennan, are you okay with that change in the wording of the motion?
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh. Pardon?
Yeah, I support it. I second that motion.
Okay. So it's been moved by Councillor Mustard and seconded by Councillor McLennan that the application for rezoning on Mine Road in Inverness from commercial to park area be approved. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Do we have Mr. Gillis with us?
Not yet.
Okay,
Yes, he is.
Dernie, are you online now?
Yeah, I can see him.
Hear you.
Okay, everyone can hear you as well. So we're ready to
Hey,
go.
Derek.
And video.
welcome, Mr. Gillis, to our meeting.
But I got my video got shut down and my audio got shut down.
That's okay. Council can now hear you. So
We just can't see you, but that's, you know, we can still listen to each other for sure.
so
So,
you can proceed with your update, Dernie.
Did you hear that, Dernie? Here
Ernie?
he is.
Yes.
Can you proceed with your update? Council can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I got there last night. It was working fine. I don't know what happened. Okay. Hi everyone, and thank you for allowing me to do this update. I'll read it through, and I'll certainly welcome any concerns or suggestions at the end. First, I want to introduce Jamie Beaton. I think she's probably on the online there. She's smarter than me. She usually gets it right first time. She is officially our revisions officer, but in reality, a huge part of the team, and she will contribute wherever needed to see this project through. We'll start with the preliminary list of electors. The provincial list from Elections Nova Scotia is better than doing an enumeration. We did one in 2008, and although the provincial list still needs work to be done to adapt it to our needs, the upside is that if we ever do electronic voting, we have to use the provincial list, so we may as well get used to working with it now. It will be available to us on and after July the 15th. Secondly, I want to talk about voting venues. I know with a couple of maybe other elections on the horizon, I wanted to get those venues nailed down, and Jamie and I have been working on that for the last few days. Again, nothing is easy this year, but I think we're about 75% through there. We'll be going into the Cheticamp area next, and I'll solicit the help of Lori and Alfred in that particular area. So we have in a case where we have elections in 6 districts, we'll have 52 regular polls on election day, plus 12 advance polls. And so we booked October the 16th in each of these venues as well for preparation in case we have to do some extra work getting these venues ready for polling day on the 17th. So we have the 2 days, the 16th Friday and the 17th, which is the voting day. Workers, to man the 52 polls, we need 104 regular poll plus 12 advanced poll workers. And additional workers this year too, because we'll need some people to organize the lines to keep social distancing in place and do the sanitizing. So we'll have to deal with that as we get there. We had probably at least one more worker per pole. Training, the provincial video conference will take place in June for the ARO, and I'll have Jamie to sit in on that as well. And then we'll have to put together training periods. I'll have to get better at working this video conference, if we're going to do training periods, because we'll have to do it for all the DROs and the poll clerks and those who are actually going to be on the front line working the polls. I don't really know. I haven't we haven't started that. We'll probably start getting the workers next week and see how available they are going to be. I have no idea. I have some reservations. I hope it'll be okay. We will follow all the suggestions of the Department of Health with regards to COVID-19, social distancing, masks, sanitizing, hand washing. The number allowed in a polling station at one time will arrange single file, in and out. And so we have to look, even though we booked all of these venues, we have to really look them over again. I'll be going around and making sure. I'd like to have the people come in the front door, maintain their social distancing, and maybe exit through a side door or back door. We'll look at that. I don't think this is the time when we should be cutting back on venues. We want to keep people voting as close to home as possible. So that's what we're working on right now, is to get the venues booked within their communities or as close to it as possible. Nomination, and this will be of interest to the present councillors as well. A nomination will run by appointment September the 1st to the 4th of September. Now, I bring that up now because although the nomination day, of course, is the 8th of September, and that a candidate can declare their intentions now. I've seen that online. I've seen that the HRM has each of the positions, or their names to declare in these positions as they are posted online. I don't know if that's something that we want to do or not, but certainly it would make our planning easier if any of the present councillors now know that they're pretty sure that they're going to run, and we can start planning in that direction. So that's why I brought that up now. And okay, I just want to go now to a little bit about COVID-19. I know it's kind of the elephant in the room, and although we're trying to work and keep it in the background, it's not going to allow us to do that. We'll have to just see what happens in October. But these are a couple of quotes. One is from the 27th of May by a video conference that I did say this in on, and it was AMNNS. Quote, if current public health protocols are still in place in October, in my opinion, it would not be practical to run a traditional paper ballot election while ensuring the safety of the voters. That quote was made by came from the Cape Breton Regional Municipality, Office of the Clerk, and the Returning Officer, and it was made on the 26th of May, 2020. Now, since that, they have put in front of council a motion that they would go totally paperless. They want to do the whole thing online. The second quote that was of interest, the staff report offers several reasons for recommending the 2020 election be conducted using electronic voting only for the advanced voting period. Only for the advanced voting period, October the 6th through 14th, which is interesting because it's an extended advanced day. However, that was the HRM Council report, 14th of April 2020. Since that, it was modified on the 21st of May 2020 to include paper voting or advanced voting as well. So now they are running two totally parallel voting systems, electronic voting and paper voting. I don't know. I feel that although it may be, I think it's fairly clear that most municipalities would rather stay with the paper elections, paper voting. However, it is clear that many of the COVID-19 concerns can be mitigated using e-voting. Therefore, I'm just going to give an opinion, something for us to think about over the next month. Therefore, in my opinion, the model best suited for the municipalities of the County of Inverness at this time is to use paper and electronic voting during the advanced voting period. Use paper and electronic voting during the advanced voting period. And that would run from October the 6th to the 14th. And only paper voting on polling day. So all the polls would be open on polling day. And you might say, well, what's the advantage of doing this? Well, there is. This will dramatically reduce the number of voters per poll on voting day. If we have a good turnout using the electronic voting during the advanced poll period, then obviously the number of people leaving their homes and going to a polling station is going to be less, without decreasing the number of voters that we get out. And of course, it'll increase the safety of the voter as per public health protocols. I might add that I found no concrete evidence that e-voting was cheaper. Some of them may want to tell you that, but no, it's not cheaper. Nor did it increase voter turnout. What it does do is demonstrate due diligence on our behalf and align us with the majority of municipal units in the province who have adopted some form of electronic voting. So we have probably 75% right now of the municipalities in the province running some form of electronic voting. A couple other things that were of interest to me. I like the pandemic plan, March 2020, that was on the county website. But something that was of interest there is in the infrastructure and emergency service section. To train staff in sanitation and hygiene procedures. Second line, maintain essential cleanliness in the municipality's facilities. And third, identify and initiate the purchase of the required cleaning, sanitation, and PPEs supplied for municipal sites. I don't know legally if I go out and rent a hall someplace, is that a municipal site? Should this be applied to these rentals? We are paying for them. We're renting and paying for them. I'm just asking the question. I'm sure that Keith will answer me this later. But it is important to me because that would give us great help with the sanitation and the purchase and ordering of masks and so forth for that particular day. But it is my intention to have everybody that enters the polling station wear a mask. All our workers in the polling station. We do not want to take any chances. Now, again, what are we doing here? We're talking about worst case scenarios. Yes. But October's not that far away and not too much has changed so far. So I expect we are still going to have some conditions that we have to abide by. So, I think that's about all I had to say. I don't know if we have two-way communication here or not, that I could answer any questions, but maybe there is. I can hope. 8 to 8.
Yes, sir. You can just listen in. The warden will turn it over to the various counselors for any questions, and you should be able to hear that.
Well, welcome, Mr. Gillis. I didn't get a chance to welcome you. I thank you for the excellent presentation. Things at hand. What we're going to do now is go around the table, starting from District 1 and ending at District 6, and have each of the counselors express and ask questions of you, and hopefully you may have some answers. And we'll start with the Deputy Warden Poirier, District 1.
Good afternoon, Dernie. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. One question that I was thinking while your presentation, and your talk was, how, I mean, we have a system to go vote, but for a candidate that wants to campaign, what did they came up with any ideas or how we can do it? Is it all up to us to decide how we do it? Because, first of all, some of the are running again, and then or anybody new coming in, it's the same thing. Do we have to go and knock on doors? Will they let us in, or can we talk with a mask? Or was there any discussion of any kind about how the campaigning would be going?
It was brought up. Of course, it's brought up, but nobody knows. Right now, the provincial regulations is that it would not allow it. They would not sanction door-to-door solicitation for the election. But we don't know, and it's very unclear. I can't find anything really online what the other municipalities are doing. Cape Breton regional municipalities telling all their voters to stay home. So it's a mixed bag, and I really can't answer that question right now because I don't know.
Another question, Dernie, another question that I would have, there are people that are, in apartments, disabled, or, or any other ways, like they don't want to be, let anybody in, etc. So does that mean these people, if they, how they going to vote without the approach? They're disabled, they can't move. How can you meet with the people who's going to make a vote, etc.? And we're living in a bubble right now. So how are these people who are, example of senior apartments with 30, 50 apartments behind me who are not allowed to let anybody in? How are they going to vote? And most of them, they're not going to walk out. They can't. And most of them are not ready to go on e-voting.
Okay, the people that are in assisted living quarters, that they have caretakers inside, it was suggested that they be made DROs. So in a sense, we create a pool where the nurses or the caretakers that are there anyway become the DRO and the clerk, and then that the patient or the resident rather at that particular facility then could vote with assistance from their care worker.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for me, Warren.
Okay, just two, Councillor Cranton.
Yes, good afternoon, I guess it is, Mr. Dernie, and welcome. Lori Cranton here. Couple of questions, or one for sure. Kind of goes along with what Deputy Warden Poirier was saying with the polling stations, and you mentioned having polling stations where the voter would come in one end and go out the other. We need to have all our polling stations accessible, wheelchair accessible, or as accessible for all disabilities as possible. And I know the government has guidelines on that. Just wondering how, that's just adding another issue to the COVID accessibility as well. Because you might get one good entrance accessible, like you were talking about, but to have them leave in another exit, not a lot of those buildings would have both exits that are entrances or exits accessible. So that could pose a little problem there. And maybe it's as simple as suggesting that if there's a major issue getting in and out of there, I got to be careful how I say this because I could get in trouble, but you know, an alternative plan if somebody's worried about that, of maybe using the early voting or the voting from you know, a ballot online, but still you'll get people that'll say, I want to vote at my poll and it should be accessible to me. And that's just something I think you need to take into consideration there.
Yes, absolutely. And Peter and I were talking about that the other day, and we fully realized that. I know many of these facilities have been in them, and I know exactly what you're saying. It's true. You just have to figure out that they go in the front door, and if there's no other access that is 100% accessible, then we'll just have to make arrangements that they come back out the same door that they went in. But we'll have to change our how we look at that particular thing, but we certainly are aware of it. And
Okay.
There's some buildings that we will not be able to use. We haven't really, we've been asking the questions, or Jamie's been asking the questions about renovations over the last 4 years. How have they changed? And some of the buildings really, I don't think, are up to standard required for us to have a public poll. So that will be taken into consideration. Absolutely. Yes. Good point. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, and if it's appropriate only, if any hall or place you're looking at renting wants me to come by and take a peek at it and make some suggestions of how they, sometimes it's not that hard to make it accessible. I don't mind helping out a little bit there as well if I can. And I think it's much better to have a plan in place than get there and have that happen and everybody puts their hands up and says, "Oh, we missed that one." So, and I've seen that done in provincial and federal elections before. So I'm glad you're aware of it. And if I could help out any or provide any advice, I'm more than happy to as well.
Thank you, Councillor Cranton.
Very much. Yeah.
Councillor Mustard. Do you have any questions or thoughts on our upcoming municipal election plans?
No big questions, just an observation that in the district that I've represented for years, they've traditionally had a town hall with the candidates being able to do a Q&A, kind of usually hosted by the IDA. It will be something to think about if door-to-door is not available, how constituents can, whether the time frame for the election allows for constituents to get a sense of who the candidates are. So democracy is an important part of this, and it's not just names, but hopefully some questions from the public that allow the candidates to explain a little bit what their approach is. So just putting that out there, that with the limitations we're seeing happen, it might be difficult to have that level.
Thank you, Councillor Mustard. Councillor McLennan.
Oh, I got no questions for Dernie.
Okay, I'm District 5, Betty Macquarie. I think you mentioned in your presentation that there's no enumeration being done. We're strictly going to go by revising the provincial voting list. Is that right?
That is correct. I did enumeration in 2008, and it really didn't. I wasn't very comfortable with it. I think that the province has a lot more up-to-date methods of contributing to the list, and they tell us that on July the 15th, the list will be updated by all the means that they have up to the end of June. So that's pretty good. And the enumeration took considerable time, and in some cases we had to go back and redo it. It just wasn't done, and it did create a lot of problems from that regard. But even if it was, even if I was satisfied with it at the time, which I did and I used it, I think now that I'm more confident in the list that we get from the province.
Okay, thanks, Dernie. I also wanted to ask you about the venues, so the polling stations. I think you did say that there would be a couple more venues added. And I just wondered, the way it has been done, like there's several polls in one venue. Is that still going to take place? Will there be 2 or 3 polling stations in each venue?
It could be, yes. I think that the parish hall in Mob was a good example of that.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see, I guess, how we can divide that up. If we have to add another venue, then we can do that. The possibility for another venue is in Marble, in that I didn't get, in 2016, the parish hall was being used for a wedding or something else, and we didn't get it. And we were still able to have all the polls by using the Delbray Academy, the fire hall, and I think of course, we had the Southwest Marble one and one out in Smithville. So we were able to accommodate it, but yeah, the number of polls in the building is certainly a question, and that plays out in Inverness as well, because I had 3 polls at the fire hall and 3 polls at the Legion. So we'll have to look at that as well.
Well, as a method of reducing traffic, not that there's going to be a big turnout, we don't know, but it would make it easier to follow the public health protocols if there were less polls in each venue.
Well, we have 17,000 eligible voters in the county, and we're pushing 50% of those in each of the elections. So you're talking, 7,000, 8,000 people. If there was an election in all 6 districts, and that's something to consider too, because we don't know that yet as well.
Right. Okay, thank you. Councillor Dowling, District 6.
Hey, Dernie, welcome back.
Hi, John.
You notice the warden say the best district last there, of course, right? So
I'm going to start at District 6 next time.
that's right. I'll try and get the hand across. Dernie, just 2 questions. One the same as the warden's. Like last election, we had the issue in West Bay where the hall wasn't available. We had to go through the church where there was no washroom facilities. Hopefully, we're not going to run into that with any venues this year, and where we didn't have the cell service at the church either, so there was no way of connecting with the representatives at the voting station. Okay. And second, one other question that was brought up, you and I talked about it about 3 years ago, so I'll test your memory. It was about better educating some of the staff so that the staff didn't know who our authorized agents were, and that they're so any of anybody who's running it, of course, that that when their agents come in at the polls, they're going to be treated and be able to have access to any information that's allowed through the Elections Act.
Yes, those are good points, John. And as far as the poll, as I said, we're on it much faster, much earlier this year. And of course, these venues have not been in use for a while, so they're down also. But the West Bay Hall is booked. It's one of the first ones I booked. And
okay.
But your point on a education for the candidates or providing information, I guess is a better way to the candidates and making sure that we go over that together and that we're all on the same page. I certainly agree with that. I just made a note of it here and we'll do our best to do that.
Okay, thanks, Dernie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything further? Keith, do you have any questions, comments?
No, Bernie and his team are well underway. They're doing lots of research and connecting on with all the various organizations such as NSFM and the Association of Municipal Administrators of Nova Scotia on what's happening throughout the province. So he'll continue to provide updates as we move towards election day.
Just a curiosity question. Is the rate of pay for the poll workers? I know like the DRO probably has a higher rate of pay, but I know there was some discussion in other municipalities about raising the hourly rate. Is that in discussion, Dernie, or?
Yes, some people may not want to come out if we have a second wave of COVID-19, and that's one way. I don't know. The last time I heard that question come up, a municipality that was answering said that they paid their DROs $175 plus travel, and their clerks won $25 plus travel, and then they also get paid for going to a training session. Now, our training session will be online, but that could become the norm in the province. I'm not sure. We were below that. We were 150 last year and 125. So it's not a big jump, but it is a change.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dernie.
I just might want to ask, does that sound low or high to you for a 14-hour day?
Well, that's a good question.
Okay, I won't tell you.
I would say
I think sometimes that deal with a lot less. Because they are there at 7 o'clock in the morning. You don't get out of there until 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. And then you throw in COVID-19 this year, and yeah, that's the problem.
Tense. Yeah, pretty tense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe they do deserve more. I don't know, but that is across the province, right? That rate.
Yeah, it is. It's a very important job. We try to train them, and we've been very, very fortunate. The caliber of DROs and clerks that we've had over the last number of elections that I was involved in, and I would hate to see that disrupted in any way. You know, like that's the key. We don't want to end up in additional reviews and court cases and stuff over issues that could have been avoided.
Right.
Or should have been.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Unless you have something further, Mr. Gills.
I'm just disappointed that I didn't get on camera here. I put on a new shirt and everything got all ready, and
I know it's a lot of effort, isn't it?
my video never got through.
Yeah, it actually is now, Dernie.
Yeah,
What's that?
You're coming through, kind of.
Okay.
Oh,
there you
am
are.
I out there now?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up, so.
Okay, then thank you very much, Dernie, for your presentation, and we'll certainly be in touch.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you both. See you now.
Okay, interesting stuff. So, the next item on our agenda is our recommendations to council from Committee of the Whole. So we'll start with number 1, or 7.1, I should say, which is a road name change. So the road name change is a recommendation to council that an unnamed private lane off Little Mabu Road in Colindale be named Ocean Breeze Lane, pending a change of county from Richmond to Inverness. In the document, they said Richmond County, so that's going to be, they will be asked to change that to Inverness County in the Eastern District Planning Commission location map. So that's a recommendation from Committee of the Whole. Somebody like to make it official and approve it by council?
Approve it. John
Or not?
McLennan.
Okay, moved by Councillor McLennan and seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Dowling. That an unnamed private lane off Little Mabu Road in Collindale be named Ocean Breeze Lane, pending on a change of county from Richmond to Inverness in the Eastern District Planning Commission location map. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. We're just getting too relaxed here. The 7.2 is the Nova Scotia municipal elections date. So the recommendation from Committee of the Whole to Council is that a letter be written to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing expressing our concerns regarding holding a municipal election in October of 2020. Premier Stephen McNeil, MLA Alan McMaster, and
Just playing Donkey Kong.
sorry, I muted that out. When my phone rings, my other iPad rings as well. So sorry about that. Had the phone on mute. Yeah, so that letter that we made the recommendation to council, I think each of you have the letter. Do you have the letter?
Yep.
Do you have a glance at it?
Yep.
So is it necessary for somebody to read it, or would you like to just say, no, that's fine, let it go, type of thing? Prove it?
I'd put it through the way it is, Warden.
Okay. How does everybody feel about the letter? Did you get a chance to read it, first of all?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Everybody okay? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we need a mover and a seconder to approve sending the letter as scribed by staff of the municipality to expressing our concerns regarding holding a municipal election in October of 2020. Just Premier McNeil, MLA Alan McMaster, and Dr. Robert Strang to be copied on the letter. The letter is to Minister Porter.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, Warden.
Okay, moved by Councillor Dow, seconded by
Councillor Cranton, I'll second that.
Councillor Cranton, that a letter be sent to Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing expressing our concerns regarding holding a municipal election on October 2020 of 2020, and Premier Stephen McNeil, MLA Alan McMaster, and Dr. Robert Strang be copied on the letter. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, the next recommendation is regarding Inverness County homes, small option homes. We did bring that up for discussion at our Committee of the Whole meeting. And the recommendation to council is that a letter be sent to Premier Stephen McNeil asking for clarification as to why some frontline healthcare workers were excluded from the wage top-up program. And the letter would go to Premier Stephen McNeil, copy to our MP Mike Kellaway, and our MLA Alan McMaster, the Minister of Health and Wellness, and the Minister of Community Services. So could we have a motion that letter be sent? Have you had an opportunity to view it?
I'll make that.
Okay, moved by Councillor McLennan.
I
And second
Aye.
by Deputy Clerk
That's
Poirier,
okay.
that we send, did somebody want to make a comment?
No,
Okay.
That was just some feedback through one of the participants.
Oh, okay. So, are you clear on the letter? It's for clarification on, you know, why some received the top up and others didn't, so.
Mhm.
You okay with that? Somebody want to make a motion that we send that letter out as well?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, moved by Councillor McLennan. Seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Dowling. That the letter be sent to Premier Stephen McNeil asking for clarification as to why some frontline healthcare workers were excluded from the wage top-up program. And the letter be sent to MP Mike Kellaway, MLA Al McMaster, and Minister of Health and Wellness and the Minister of Community Services. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next recommendation is the community grants. Grant for Glendale and Area Community Cooperative Limited. The recommendation, well, I won't read it till after we make the motion. Otherwise, I'm reading it twice, so that's not necessary.
I'll make that motion, Warden.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dowling and seconded by
John McLennan.
Councillor McLennan. That council approve the $7,500 with $5,195 of funding coming from District 6 Community Development. Budget, unspent monies that are now in the regional grant account of regional grant account. $2,305 of funding to come from the 2020-2021 District 6 CDC budget, yet to be determined. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. If anybody has discussion, please stop me. Otherwise, we're moving right along here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we discussed a duplicate account. This is number 5. Request for a write-off. So after some discussion at a committee of the whole meeting, there was a recommendation to council. Somebody want to make this a motion?
I'll make it. Warden.
Okay, moved by Councillor Mustard and seconded
Second,
by
Councillor Cranton.
Councillor Cranton, that a letter be written to PBSC and copied to the Morrises regarding the issue of 3 duplicate accounts and the resulting payments made. And I would like to request that a copy be sent to Warden Jim McAlpine, who is the board chair of PBSC. So if that's possible, could we add that into the recommendation?
Fine with me.
I would-
Okay,
Yeah.
somebody want,
Good.
good idea? Okay. So we need a mover to make it,
Oh, you've had, it's been moved and seconded. You just need to vote.
Just need a vote.
okay, all in favor of the motion? Who was the mover? Do you have that?
Jim
I
and
moved it.
myself.
Okay, yes, right. Okay, so all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. And the next one is repairs to the Inverness Wastewater Treatment Plant digester. So would somebody like to make a motion for the recommendation number 6? Big bucks?
I can make the motion, Warden. Councillor Mustard.
Okay. It's been moved by Councillor Mustard and seconded by
I second.
Deputy Warden Poirier, that we approve that $82,275.82 be funded through the gas tax fund for the repairs to the Inverness Wastewater Treatment Plant digester. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. And number 7 is a letter of support for Acadian Communications. Somebody like to make this a motion?
I move that we send a letter of support for Acadian Communication as per request.
Okay.
I'd like to second that motion, Warden.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Warden Poirier and seconded by Councillor Cranton that we provide a letter of support to Acadian Communications towards their bid submission to phase 2 of the Develop Nova Scotia's broadband initiative. Okay, so I think there are a few other letters, but they will come up in correspondence.
We got a vote, Warden?
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, great. So
Yes.
The next item on the agenda
Go ahead.
is, sorry, Councillor Cranton, did you want to speak?
No. Warren, can I ask a question before you continue?
Sure.
There's another letter in there. Do we have to make a motion for that one as well for Bell?
We were going
Well, yeah.
to, we were going to address that within the correspondence.
That's what
Okay.
yeah, it's there. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine. Good reminder. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is an update for the old Port Hood Government Wharf. And who was going to give that update? Keith or?
The municipality, we found ourselves in ownership of the old government wharf in Port Hood. It's under disrepair and has been damaged by multiple storms and wave action. Melanie Beaton is just going to give an update on the progress towards that project's repair.
Okay, Melanie, you're on.
Yes, so as Keith had mentioned, the municipal staff in partnership with Dillon Consulting had advanced that conditional assessment, which was previously reported to council, and concluded that the existing former public wharf was in an advanced state of deterioration, and the assessment also provided the scope of work necessary to undertake a demolition and stabilization project. So the demolition and removal of the deteriorated outer T-shaped wharf and the stabilization of the breakwater will ensure the integrity of the beach, as it is influenced by the existing wharf structure, and it will also protect public health and safety. Sea level rise, storm surge, and climate change resilience was considered as part of the design concept for the work. As such, the project team is working towards finalizing the procurement documents for this work to invite proposals for the provision of contracting services. Major contractor activities will include the installation of a silt curtain, excavation and demolition of the wharf structure, salvage of rock fill ballast and armor stone, hauling and disposal of creosote timber members and excess rock fill and armor stone, and the supply and installation of geotextile fabric, clean rock fill, and armor stone. This work cannot begin until review and approval of the necessary permits in compliance with the Federal Navigable Waters Act and the Federal Fisheries Act, which are being advanced at this time. Municipal staff and the project team are hoping to post the procurement document within the next couple of weeks once that is finalized.
Thank you very much, Melanie. It's good work. Okay, that's an update for us. So the next item on the agenda is the 2020-2021 operation budget presentation by our CFO, Tanya Thibault.
So Tanya's going to pop up a presentation for council to follow along. That's going to highlight a number of components for the 2020-2021 operational budget. So she is just getting that ready to go in a moment. So hopefully everyone can see that on their screen. So the great amount of work has been undertaken by staff to bring this budget to council. It has been discussed at a number of meetings. And today we're here to give you an additional update and hope to finalize this agenda and have it approved. So just as a precursor to Tanya's presentation, we just wanted to give you kind of a high-level overview of this year's operational budget. Certainly, we're going to continue to advance the recommendations that were outlined in the organizational review performed by Pierce Davis and approved by council a number of years ago. We've been using that study as basically our roadmap for next steps for the municipality. There was a number of strong recommendations that council approved and have asked staff to advance, so that it continues to be one of our core documents shaping our operational budgets since it's been released. Of course, 2019, 2020 was a very tumultuous year with very unprecedented impacts with a significant hurricane, COVID-19 pandemic, and a provincial state of emergency. Even with all of those occurrences, the municipality has been able to move forward and be able to be under our budget. Dana will get into that a little bit more detail, but certainly that was a difficult undertaking with all these new unexpected expenses, but we've been able to manage that as a team and go forward with the new budget this year. Again, you'll see a note of the continuously increasing mandatory contributions that the municipality has to move along, including education and policing, so that'll be detailed. We also have to keep in mind we have set aside and utilized a significant amount of resources this past year and continuing to do that this year to address the compliance and directives from Environment Nova Scotia in regards to our municipal water and wastewater treatment plants and lift stations. So you'll see new investments to address those directives from Environment Nova Scotia and continuing to improve the operations of our treatment plants. We have growing costs associated with emergency response measures. We've certainly gained a number of experience items through Hurricane Dorian and what the municipality has to do to improve our responses to these type of weather events. So you'll see some new investments put aside for that. That's already on top of the investment council's already made and advanced around backup power generation for our plants. And still balancing all of these stresses on the municipality, we have on top of that, we have to tackle our municipality's infrastructure deficit. So we had the Dillon report from 2 years ago, which outlined a multi-million-dollar infrastructure deficit where we're at as a municipality. So we have to take great measures to address that while making sure we have the fiscal wherewithal to do that in incremental steps. Of course, part of the recommendations that were in that Pierce Davis report was some modernization activities for the municipality. So we're continuing to do that. Daniel will mention some as she advances the presentation today. We have to highlight some of the staff training and work we have to do around establishing standard operating procedures for our organization. It's not a significant cost outlay for the municipality, but certainly we are spending more money to provide our staff with health and safety training, but on top of that, professional development so that they can be assisted in doing their daily work. And certainly through all these themes, we have an increased focus on the safety of our staff and our community. The work we do every day comes in connection with our residents and visitors, so we have to make sure we're very highly proficient in safety protocols to protect our staff and community. So moving on from there, we have a number of key areas that this year's operational focus will undertake. But with our organizational chart, obviously we have the residents of Inverness County Black Ordnance Council. The CAO works for council on a daily basis to move forward their priority items. From there, we have 6 distinct organizational areas. One is administration and government, finance, occupational health and safety, our infrastructure, recreation, tourism, and culture, and all these development projects that we have that we team up with various communities, as well as our own infrastructure projects. So our operational priorities for this upcoming year, again, really highlighting safety excellence to provide a safe environment for residents, visitors, and staff, and make this a priority, and be a municipality that demonstrates leadership and safety throughout the province. Certainly good governance. There was a number of recommendations through the organizational review around good governance, and the goal is to provide superior governance of the municipality through a number of measures. We have to look at community growth and vibrancy, and look at projects that are brought before the municipality and to assist community groups with initiatives that support the growth of a healthy, vibrant communities. Fiscal oversight is always a priority for the municipality, but we want to make sure that residents realize that it's one of our top 6 directional items for our operational budget. And that's all about stewardship around municipal assets and appropriately providing proper oversight to the tax dollars, that these funds are all allocated to the greatest benefits of residents and taxpayers. A new item we're bringing to the table with the municipality is the theme of continuous improvement, and how can we establish processes and measures to continually improve our operations and services and processes of the municipality to make sure that we are helping residents in a timely fashion with their needs. And last but not least is client satisfaction. And this is all about taking a new approach to ensuring that we are on a day-to-day basis as staff helping our residents as much as we can. So how do we do that? Well, we ensure that residents receive excellent services because they provide the funds for the employees to deliver these services. So we're going to be taking a number of steps to continuously improve our client satisfaction and reach out to residents more for feedback. So this is our 6 operational priorities, and you'll see these themes come out as Tanya rolls through the budget presentation. So Tanya, if you would like to proceed.
Good afternoon. So as you know, we've had a couple of meetings to review the draft budget. And then this morning, we went over in detail the budget to review it prior to the presentation. So this will be a very high-level presentation. The total revenue that we budgeted for the 2020-2021 fiscal year is $17,249,500. $15,397,500 of that is related to property taxes, including residential, commercial, resource tax, e-transfer, and business tax assessments, like the grant in lieu that we received from Nova Scotia Power and Alliant. So in grant in lieu of taxes, we received $428,500, which is mainly made up of the provincial grant in lieu from the province. In addition to that, there are also the conservation grant in lieu, Nova Scotia Power grant in lieu, and federal grant in lieu for the Canada Post and all federal properties within the county. Services provided to other governments, we budgeted $187,000 for that, and this is made up of 3 numbers. We receive revenue from WACA for solid waste collection and disposal, or disposal actually, and we also receive funding revenue from them for the wastewater, a portion of the wastewater services that we provide with the Waikagama wastewater treatment plant. And also, we do receive revenue from the municipality of the District of Guysborough for the leachate that is purchased from the town of Port Hawkesbury. We have a percentage of the ownership in that revenue. Sale of services, we budgeted $245,100 for this, and this would be related to any services that we provide to the residents. As a result, this relates to all of the services that we do provide to the residents. Revenue from own source, we budgeted $216,200. This is a reduction from the previous year. We're anticipating that we're going to have less revenue due to COVID-19, and we'll have less revenue with regard to tax sale revenue, interest earned on accounts, as well as the interest that we would generate from outstanding property taxes. We're also recommending that we lower the interest rate for residents, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So that accounts for the decrease in the revenue from own source. The unconditional transfers from other governments, we've budgeted $497,200. The majority of that, $398,000, is the equalization grant that we received from the province, and the remaining amounts is the farm property grant that we receive from the province as well. And finally, conditional transfers from other governments. These are grants that we receive specifically for certain projects. An example would be the literacy program that is specifically for a certain project for the literacy program, as well as any health and wellness funding that we receive. It is for health and wellness programs. And we budgeted $278,000. So this is a 1.4% increase from the previous budget. This is mainly due to property taxes. Our assessments still remain strong. We haven't seen a decrease there, which is very encouraging, and we hope that it will continue. The property tax revenue alone accounts for 89% of the total revenue generated by the municipality. We don't have many other sources of revenue, so the revenue is pretty much locked in for the budget. With regard to expenditures, we'll start with general government services. We budgeted $2,414,000 for those services related to legislative services and administration. Protective services, we've budgeted $1,601,800. Transportation services, we budgeted $1,281,500. And environmental health services, which would include our wastewater operations and maintenance, as well as our transfer station and waste collection, we budgeted $3,450,600. Environmental development services, which would be any community development projects that we're undertaking, as well as tourism, we're budgeting $920,900. And our typo there, recreation and cultural services, we budgeted $756,800. And our mandatory contributions and non-discretionary contributions are the contributions that we really don't have any say over. And these would include our CMP, education, corrections, housing, and our regional library. That expense totals $6,884,700, which is 39% of the total expenditures that the municipality is responsible for. And then we have special items budgeted at $321,300, which refers to some pensions. So our budget shortfall is, our general operating shortfall is $382,100. And then after you add on the long-term debt payment of $180,000, that brings our operating deficit to $562,100. So we're proposing that that we use the $562,100 from the previous year's surplus to balance the budget. So I just have a couple of charts here for you to review. Starting on the revenue side. As I mentioned earlier, 89% of our total revenue is property taxes. It's then followed by grant in lieu of taxes at 3%. Services provided to other governments is just 1%. Sale of services, again, 1%. And revenue owned source is also 1%. With unconditional transfers from other governments coming in at 3%, and then our conditional transfers from other governments is at 2%. Looking at the expenditures, starting with general government services, 14% of the total budget is related to general government services. Protective services are 9% of the budget. Transportation, 7%. Environmental health is 20%, environmental development services 5%, recreation and cultural services is 4%, and then 39% of the total expenditures is related to those mandatory contributions we had discussed. Before I get into a little more detail with regard to the expenditures, we're just going to look at the property tax rates. So we're proposing that we do not raise the tax rates and they remain the same as the previous year. So the proposed tax rates based on $100 of taxable assessment are $1.05 for both residential and resource, and then $1.91 for commercial property. The forest property tax rates is based on acreage, and again, we're proposing that is 25 cents an acre. And the due date for this year's property tax bill will be Friday, August 28th, 2020. For the last several years, we've always made it the last Friday in August to try to have a little consistency. So the interest rates proposed are on property taxes are 0.5% per month. And as council has already waived interest for March, April, and May of 2020, I'm proposing that we only add interest to outstanding accounts from September of 2020 until March of 2021. So instead of the 1% interest rate on outstanding taxes as we've done in the past, this budget will include the 0.5% per month. And the outstanding local improvement charges, the rate is 0.5% per annum. That was changed a couple of years ago and this is for all of the local improvement charges. So the old local improvement charges and the new ones that we would levy. Those volunteer fire department rates will remain the same as the previous year, with the exception of Lemoyne Volunteer Fire Department. They requested that they raise both the residential and the commercial rate to 10 cents per $100 of assessment. And also Port Hood Islands, last year, the rate for the building that they had constructed on the island for fire services was 10 cents per $100 of assessment, but this will be the final year that a rate will be levied for Port Hood Islands for that building. So it's only 2.23 cents per $100 of assessment. The proposed volunteer fire rates for Mabou, Pleasant Bay, and Meat Cove are based on dwelling unit. So all properties in Pleasant Bay and Meat Cove and Mabou that have dwellings on them are billed a flat rate. And for those in Mabou that have more than one dwelling on the property, they are billed $200 per property. The proposed sewer rate, based on $100 of taxable assessment for District 1 is 34 cents, and District 3 to 6 is 33 cents. And this is consistent with the previous year. There are no increases or decreases there. So I'm just going to go a little further into detail on the expenditure side. So for general government services, as I had mentioned before, we budgeted to just over $2.4 million. This is a 7% reduction from the previous year. We had an increase in legislative expenses due to the municipal election. The had to budget an additional $120,000 for that election. We see an increase in finance expenses due to staffing changes within the organization and the addition of some permanent staff like accounts receivable and reception. And we also have additional software expenses for our accounting system and some IT related expenses. The decrease in taxation expenses is a result of the uncertainty regarding tax collection processes. We are not anticipating the normal stream of revenue for our tax sales. So therefore, the decrease in the cost of having those sales would also be decreased. We've also increased the low income exemption for our residents to $25,000. Previously, it was $3,000. We've increased that to see if that can help people in light of what's been happening with COVID-19 and the interruption in employment for many of our residents. With regard to protective services, there's a 17% increase from the previous year's budget. A lot of this has to do with the increase to the fire department area rates. That's due to assessment. There's also a slight increase in the amount that we pay to the Inverness County Water Utility as mandated by the Utility Review Board. As I mentioned earlier, there was an increase in the Lemoyne Volunteer Fire Department area rate to 10 cents per $100 of assessment. And we've also budgeted $100,000 for emergency preparedness for local volunteer fire departments. And this will assist them in being better able to be prepared in light of an emergency. And those discussions have begun after the Dorian incident in the fall. There are also some additional emergency preparedness funding for COVID-19 related expenses. Moving on to transportation services, we've budgeted $1,281,500, which is a 19% increase from the previous year's budget. There's an increase in the infrastructure staffing for some of the displaced solid waste operators, and they will be focusing on facility and grounds maintenance, something that we had not prioritized before and had been contracted out in some instances. We have also reduced the amount we're paying to straight area transit due to COVID-19 and due to the reduced operations. So we reduced that by $28,000. We've also budgeted additional funds for consulting for roads, streets, and other related development within with regard to the infrastructure. And we have, of course, increased the occupational health and safety budget significantly to in light of the COVID-19 and the state of emergency. Okay, environmental health services. Overall, there's a 6% increase from the previous year's budget. $122,000 of that increase is due to repairs and maintenance required at the lift stations. We've budgeted some extensive repairs and maintenance in the hope that we do not have to replace the lift stations, which is a significant cost. The solid waste collection and recycling collection is now contracted out to GFL. And so we should see some savings in that regard related to overtime salaries we were paying tens of thousands of dollars in overtime to staff for waste collection. And we'll also see a reduced amount of vehicle repairs because the repairs that we were making to our vehicles was significant. The additional staffing for our wastewater facility operations and maintenance is really, or causes an increase in the overall budget because we have more people dedicated to the facilities that we do have. And again, we did some additional funding to continue repairs to Kenlock Transfer Station, transfer facility. We've made significant progress there, and we will continue to make sure that that is a quality service for our residents. Environmental development services, we budgeted $920,900. There's a 20% reduction from the previous year's budget. This is mostly related to the Signature Spaces and Brand project. We did not include that in the budget this year. When we do incur those expenses, we're going to bring in the revenue. So it will just be an in and out transaction and not affect the budget at all. We've added a project construction manager to monitor the municipal and community infrastructure projects. So that's where you see an increase under the community development line item. And we've made a significant reduction in budgeting for marketing and tourism related events due to COVID-19, because we do understand that there will be some restrictions and we will be unable to, it will not be business as usual. And we've also added some funding for municipal energy saving initiatives that we're looking to use as leverage to garner more funding from provincial and federal entities for those initiatives. And one of those initiatives that we're involved in is the on-site energy manager, and we're involved, we're partnering with some neighboring municipalities to have to complete that initiative. In recreation and cultural services, there is a 12% reduction from the previous year's budget. We've been approved for an MPAL coordinator from the province. So they will be paying 50% of that coordinator, that employee's salary. And we have an addition of an operating grant for the Waikagama Waterfront Center. So that organization will be receiving the same amounts as the other cultural budget. There's also an increase of the health and wellness budget to support our food security and food hamper initiatives due to COVID-19. So we are diverting some funds so that we are better able to serve the residents and address the needs that they have during this time. And again, the reduction of certain recreation programs will be affected by COVID-19, and we have been able to reduce the budget in those areas. But again, we did increase the budget for some of the programs like the outdoor recreation programs and Let's Get Moving Inverness County. So finally, we have our mandatory contributions. As I had mentioned earlier, these account for 39% of our total budget. We're paying $3,377,800 to the Strait Region Center for Education, $2,609,600 to the for policing RCMP services. Correctional facilities, we're paying $212,200. Property Valuation Services Corporation, we provide them with $417,000. The regional library, even though it's closed, we're providing $107,900 is what's budgeted for that entity. And our provincial roads, which would be the J-class roads that the province maintains, we budgeted $100,200. And these amounts, again, are there's not very much wiggle room here. So the numbers that you see there are the numbers that will have been expensed at the end of the year. The education rate did remain the same, however, uniform assessment increased. So that's why you see the increase for the school board. And again, the pension enhancements, there's a 7% reduction from the previous year's budget, and this is a contribution to retired municipal employees per pension requirements. So that's the budget. Keith is going to go over this last slide, but before he does, I've sent out a copy of the resolution required to approve the budget. And if council is in agreement with the budget that is presented, then I would ask that a motion be made to make that, to approve the budget as presented.
So thank you, Tanya, for that. Council will be reviewing the resolution that was advanced. But just to wrap up, this is a significant amount of work for our managers and departmental leads to develop very detailed budget forecasts. We've made increased improvements every year on gaining more and more detailed and providing that to the Department of Finance to finalize the budget and present that to council for review and changes and input. So I want to make sure that Tanya and the folks at the Department of Finance, as well as staff, that our management group and lead unit groups did a great job in making sure we got that information so that we can formulate a very detailed and informative budget. There's some potential significant loss of revenue due to COVID-19 and the state of emergency. So there's certainly going to be some challenges around that, in estimating the revenue and expenditures. But we're fairly confident with the amount of work we've put into this budget that we're going to be very close on those fronts. Of course, this proposed general operating budget is balanced, and at the same time, we're not looking for any new tax rates or area rates. They are to remain the same, and we're able to do that with good financial management in a time of a lot of changes and significant issues. So staff should be commended for that. Again, this budget ties in very closely to our overall organizational plan that was provided earlier, just a high level. Again, to council, we're going to continue to focus on improved service delivery, make sure that we're providing top quality services to our residents. We're going to continue to support the health, safety, and professional development of our elected officials and staff. And of course, support our residents, communities, businesses, and nonprofit organizations in this very challenging time. So those are the themes of this year's budget. And I'll turn it back over to the warden to gain feedback from council on the presentation today.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Tanya, for an excellent and very clear-cut look at our proposed budget for 2020, 2021. I think that each of the councillors probably have some comments on the presentation. And we'll go around the table the opposite way this time, the virtual table, that is. And we'll start with Councillor Dowling, District 6.
You said you were going to do that, didn't you?
I did.
Not a whole lot of comments other than a great job, Tanya, again, as for the other years. Thanks to you and your staff who worked on this. Not an easy job. It's nice to see no changes this year with the taxes. You know, we're making do with what we can. Again, good job. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
See if I can count backwards now. District 5.
That's you.
That's me, yes. And I would just like to take a moment to say I was out shopping for a pair of shoes for Tanya, but I didn't know her size. I just wanted to get her some new shoes. But anyway, no, a very excellently presented, and I know that there was a lot of time spent on it. you know, trying to make sure that it was a balanced budget, which is what is being presented to us today. So that's my, I wanted to thank Keith and Tanya and all of the staff that helped, you know, put together this excellent budget for this year, coming year. This year and the coming year. Okay, District 4. McLennan, Councillor McLennan.
I guess everybody's going to say the same thing, but I get no questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McLennan. Councillor Mustard. Any comments?
I think he's muted.
I am muted. I appreciate the format you use on the final presentation. I think that clarifies it. And is there one question? Is that going to be available to the public? So I know that I think this meeting is public. Is it, Keith? I'm just thinking it's a good format and it gives a clear explanation, I think, for the press and the general public as to how you've worked and prioritized and had to make some decisions to keep this balanced budget. So.
Yes, the goal is to have this meeting broadcast or made available to the public, as well all documents presented to council are public. So that we'll be making that available for anyone's request, but we'll be augmenting it a little bit to have on our website as well.
Yeah, so thank you for that to all the staff. I really appreciate the way it was presented today, this afternoon. It was very helpful.
Thank you, Councillor Mustard. Councillor Cranton?
I got a beep here going, but my heart is still beating, so I'm okay. I'll mute as soon as I say this. First of all, I'd like to say and congratulate staff and our CAO and CFO on an excellent job here. I would have predicted we would have been in a little more difficult situation with the deficit due to the hurricane and the COVID virus and all the other things that came along in the past year with our wastewater infrastructure and our water infrastructure. We had to take on a lot of big tasks. So I feel very comfortable being able to vote in support of this budget. And I echo what Councillor Mustard was saying. I love the presentation, and I was looking at the first slide as well. And if I was speaking to a group of people and they were asking questions about how our money is spent, and a lot of people don't really understand that those slides, some of them really explain that in a nice way that's easy to understand. And I'm glad it's going to get out there, because people just think we spend money willy-nilly and all over the place, and we don't, and we value every cent we spent of the taxpayers' money. And I think that was, I really commend staff in putting that kind of presentation forward. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cranton. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, just my iron's finished, so I'm okay. I just start speaking.
Okay, great. Okay, Deputy Warden Poirier.
Warden, councillors, and staff, what can I say? You said it all. You know, this is one of our best year. We had a lot of problems, you know, with COVID-19. There's a lot of infrastructure going on. So it's no use for me to just repeat what everybody said. But what I would like to do, I would like to make a motion at this point, resolve that pursuant to Section 72 of the Municipal Government Act of the Province of Nova Scotia, the Municipal Council of the Municipal Council of the Municipality of the County of Inverness hereby authorized the levying and collection of a commercial property rate of $1.91 and a residential and resource rate of $1.05 per $100 of assessed value of property on the assessment roll, which the said council deems sufficient to raise the sum require to defray the expenditure of the said municipality, which amount to 17,249,500. I would like to also add the volunteer fire department area rates. Cheticamp on 10 cents for the residential, 6 cents on the commercial. Pleasant Bay, 125 per dwelling. The Mead Cove Volunteer Fire Department, $60 per property with 1 dwelling. District 2, Northeast Margaree, I guess I put them all. And Margaree Volunteer Fire Department, Margaree for commercial, Lemoine Department and commercial, all 10 cents per assessment. In Volunteer Fire Department, 8 cents per 100 of assessment across the board. District 4, Waikagala Fire Department, 10 cents per assessment. Ainsley and Upper Margaree Valley Fire Department, 10 cents per 100. Valley Mills Volunteer Fire Department, 10 cents. Blues Mills Volunteer Fire Department, 10 cents. Blues Mills Volunteer Fire Department, commercial only, 5% of 100 per $100 of assessment. District 5, Portwood Volunteer Fire Department, residential 10 cents, commercial 6 cents per 100 of assessment. Portwood Volunteer Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department, that's Portwood Island, 0.022 per 100 of assessment. Malibu Volunteer Fire Department, 1 dwelling, $100 per property. If per more properties, more than 1 dwelling on the property would be $200. West Bay Fire Department, 10 cents. Port Hastings Valley Volunteer Fire Department, 10 cents. And the Judique Volunteer Fire Department, 10 cents. And that would be all across residential and commercial. The sewer area rates, District 1 would be 0.34 per 100 of assessment, and District 1 to 6 would be 33 cents per 100 of assessment. And be it further resolved that the said council, that the council hereby require payment of the said rates to be made to the tax collector or treasurer or the said municipality on August 28, 2020. Further resolved that the said council hereby impose an additional percentage of 0.5% per month on all rates and taxes remaining unpaid after August 28, 2020. Further resolved that the council fixes April 1st, 2021 as the day after which the tax collector may proceed to issue warrants for the collection of all rates and taxes then unpaid. That the operating budget for the year ending March 31st, 2021 be approved.
Excellent. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second, Warden.
Okay. It's been moved by Deputy Warden Poirier and seconded by Councillor Dowling that the operating budget for the year ending March 31st, 2021 be approved. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Our budget is approved. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah.
Lots of work. Too bad we can't shake hands. Okay, so that it's hard to come down off that high for sure, but anyway, we're going to move forward on the budget. The next item is some correspondence that we've received and some that we are going to be sending out. So we'll do the ones that we may be sending out with approval of council. And that would be a letter of support for the town of Mulgrave for going through a little bit of a difficult time trying to balance their books and pay for an upgrade to their wastewater treatment plant, which was something they had to do, told to them apparently by the Department of Environment that they needed to replace it. So, apparently, and you're probably all aware of it, that they are comparing the fact that CBRM had 2 upgrades and the province paid for the whole municipal share, as well as their share, the provincial share. So Mayor Hadley is feeling that Mulgrave is being treated very unfairly. So if we support their efforts, if we want to support their letter, their efforts in a letter from our municipal council, we should probably approve that we do that. But I'm just saying, I'll just send it around, see what everybody thinks, starting with District 1, Deputy Warden Poirier. How do you feel?
Well, I definitely have my full support, for the town, and I would agree to any support that we can give them.
Yeah, they're only asking for a letter of support at this point. And they've been very much vocal about it, and in the media quite a bit, both the mayor and the CAO. So, Councillor Cranton, how do you feel on this one?
Yeah, I'd certainly support that. I think it's a good idea. We're kind of good. We might need their support as well. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Great. And Councillor Mustard?
Yeah, I'm fine.
And Councillor McLennan?
Yeah, send a letter of support.
Okay, and I'm in favor. Councillor Dowling?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so motion to send a letter of support on behalf of the town of Mulgrave from the Municipal Council of the Municipality of the County of Inverness. Mover and seconder.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Councillor Dowling, and seconded by Councillor McLean. All in favor of the motion?
Right?
Contrary minded? And the motion is carried. We are sending a letter of support. Okay. The other letter is actually a request from the Strait Super Court. And they're looking for Frankie McGinnis is the representative for our municipality, for Inverness County, on the Strait of Canso Super Court Corporation Board of Directors. So he's willing to stay on for another term as Inverness County's representative. However, they are looking for someone to be there if for some reason Frank's not able to be there. So they're looking for an alternate nominee to complete vacant terms when and if they arise. So do we have anybody that we would like to put forward for this task to sit on the board of the Strait Super Court? Any names? Okay, do you want to leave it for now, and if you think of someone that would be willing, and check to see if they are able to, and perhaps we could nominate that person at the next meeting. This is for an alternate.
Yeah, but we can leave Frank there for now.
Yeah, Frank's still there.
I would move that that we nominate Frank for another term and table the looking for a new candidate until maybe someone in in Councillor Dowling's riding, who lives
Mhm.
close to that area, makes the most sense to me. So
Yeah.
if
Mhm.
he can,
Mhm.
license
And it-
open.
Yeah, it can't be an elected representative, so
Mhm.
somebody that's interested in
I
the
make
board.
the motion that Frank get another term and as
Okay.
representative from Inverness.
Okay, it's been moved by Mustard that we, and seconded by Councillor Dowling, that we reaffirm Frankie McGinnis as our representative for Inverness County, and as our nominee, and he's able to stay on, which is great. And we'll leave the other person for a future meeting to nominate, and maybe we can all do a little search in the meantime to find somebody from the nearby area, Port Hastings or close. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Okay. Okay, that correspondence. Alfred, I believe,
Petty Aim?
Warden,
Yes.
there's additional letter from regarding to the Develop Nova Scotia request from Bell Alliant. So similar to Acadia Communications, Bell Alliant is submitting a proposal to a second phase of the provincial broadband initiative through Develop Nova Scotia, and a letter has been provided to council that's very similar to Acadian Communications letter, just stating that council is supportive of increased broadband and supporting their application.
Okay, we'll look at that, but I noticed that Councilor McLennan, did you have something to say on the nomination or anything further on that?
No, on the Orangedale Senior Home, did you ever get any information on that? See where they're going with it? Because I got a couple of calls from people and they're wondering.
No, not as of yet. I'm hoping to set up a meeting with their staff in the near future to get more details. So I have not heard any update.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm looking for that letter. I have it here. No, I don't see it. So this is another letter. Is there two letters to Develop Nova Scotia? No, it's the one for Acadian Communications, right?
Yes,
Is that the
but
one we're looking for? Yeah.
no, that one's already been approved. We're now looking
Yeah.
at the one that was developed, very similar letter to support Bell Alliance application.
Oh, I see it now. Yes. Oh, yes, here it is. Yeah. Okay, did everybody get that letter? Do you want me to read it out?
Oh, we all got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got it.
so yeah, we should approve that letter. Motion for approval? Send that letter.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Okay, moved by
Go
Councillor
ahead,
Dow.
John.
Did you want to? Oh, go ahead.
I'll second it if you need a seconder.
Already, John.
Okay. Councillor Dowling and seconded by Councillor Cranton that we send the letter regarding
Letter of support for Bell.
correspondence with Develop Nova Scotia regarding Bell Alliant application to develop Nova Scotia. So it's more or less a letter of support for them as well. Same as Acadian Communications. Okay.
Just,
All in favor of the motion?
okay, aye.
All right.
All right.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, Council, for your patience. Go ahead.
I have a question, Warden, to our CAO. Keith, I was wondering if we heard anything back from Develop Nova Scotia with regarding to them coming to a meeting to talk about their funding for, we were going to send a letter out. Anything on that?
Well, the deadline for this phase 2 process for Develop Nova Scotia ends tomorrow. So that closes at 2 o'clock, I'm fairly certain. So any service providers that are submitting their proposals have to get those into Develop Nova Scotia. So those will be reviewed by Develop Nova Scotia over the next number of weeks, months. We're not sure on their timeline. And then we'll hear of the new projects that are going to be released through this phase 2. Phase 1, they did approve Bell Alliant for expansion of broadband services via fiber in Cheticamp as well as Inverness. So we're hoping to get an update from both Develop Nova Scotia and Bell Alliant on what those footprints look like for both of those communities for council. So I'm working on trying to set up that session with those organizations. Even if we can get Bell and Alliant in with an update on their current project, I think it would be very enlightening for council as well as for the residents.
Okay, thank you, Keith. I'm going to be moving to another room here, so I'll listen, but I'm going to shut you down for a second.
We're almost finished. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you added something to the agenda, a welcome to Claude.
Yeah.
Poirier.
Yes, what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion that Claude Poirier of Cheticamp be nominated for 1 year for on the board of the Kiberton Housing Commission, which is the Kiberton Housing, all the housing, all we have through Inverness and all through Kiberton. He was there last year and he's up for us. So it has to go every year. So I just move that he would be accepted for the next term.
So are we allowed to do that? I'm not sure of the, is that something we can do? Hope so, but.
We did it last.
Heard it? Yes?
It is a nomination process.
Yes. Go ahead.
The municipality does provide a member to that board, and he's been serving in that role for quite some time. And we've received correspondence requesting that he be added for an additional year term.
Okay, great. Just checking. Okay, go ahead with your motion if you're not already finished there, Deputy Warden.
Yeah, I'm finished. I just want to move Claude Poirier be accepted, as the member for 1 year in the Kiberton Housing.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second it. John McLennan.
Okay, so it's been moved by Deputy Warden Poirier and seconded by Councillor McLennan that Mr. Claude Poirier be nominated for the Cape Breton Island Housing Board for 1 year. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
all in favor of the motion?
aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next meeting dates? Unless we forgot.
We have our next meeting is our committee of the whole in 2 weeks. I'm just going to ask our Tanya, if our Director of Finance, if there's a requirement to have a special meeting next week, or we are good to go with putting together or finalizing the capital budget and presenting it to council at the committee of the whole meeting.
It'll be both. Well, we need to approve a water operating budget as well as our capital budget, and both should be ready late next week. So is it possible to have a meeting? Like, we could probably do it all at the committee of the whole meeting.
Okay, so that'll work well. And so that's 2 weeks from today on
The 18th.
18th, yes.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock, or sorry, 9:30 a.m.
9's good.
Nine is a little easier these days, that's for sure.
Yep.
So committee of the whole, June 18th.
Mhm.
Be announced. Okay. Are we taking a break or are we finished?
That's the end of the agenda. We just
Okay, we have a move for adjournment. Moved by moved by Councillor Dowling and seconded by
Deputy
Jim.
Warden Alfred.
Poirier, that we adjourn. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes,
Thank
thanks, everyone.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Good time, and we can leave now?
I'll give you a call.